This is the Panasonic Lumix 35mm prime lens, and this is the Panasonic Lumix 85mm prime lens. Now hold on. This is the Panasonic Lumix 50mm prime lens. Now you see where I'm going. In this video, I will be talking about the Panasonic Lumix 35mm prime lens and why I picked this lens up specifically for video creation. Let's go. Now, the 35mm focal length is not one you will hear a lot of photographers or even videographers talking about, and that is because of the fact that a lot of persons find it too tight for like vlogging or for tight spaces when creating video content or even taking photos, or it's too wide if you want a shallow depth of field due to the compression of longer focal lengths, like what you would get from maybe a 50mm or 85mm. So the 35mm lens normally falls in that weird, sometimes even niche spot when it comes to content creation, taking photos, or capturing images from your camera. In this video specifically, I'm using a 24mm from Sigma because I have a very tight space, but I want to get the most out of this space, and I am very close to the camera right now. I'm probably about 1 to 2 feet away from the camera. For metric people like myself, I use metric by the way, that's little shy of about 70 centimeters, going closer to a meter. So a 35mm lens would force me to go back some more to get this scene to look like what it is looking right now. But a 35mm prime lens would also give me a better depth of field, make it more shallow, separating me from the background compared to what a 24mm lens is doing. Because the wider your lens is the less bokeh or shallow depth of field you will get due to the lack of compression. But the longer your focal length, even if your aperture is not wide open, you will have some form of bokeh or a shallow depth of field due to the long distance between the subject and the lens that is capturing that image. So I got my 35mm prime lens because I wanted a more shallow depth of field for my talking headshots like these, and whenever I'm out taking photos, let's say an event or for a client, I want to have a bit more shallowiness in my images that you wouldn't necessarily receive from a 24mm or something wider. So the 35 was that sweet spot. I don't want to go 50 because I don't want it to be too tight, and I don't want to go 24 because that is too wide, and you start to get some distortion whenever you're using a wide lens like 24mm. Like even the edge here, if I should move my head to the edge, you can see the distortion, even though the camera is trying its best to correct that distortion internally. With 35mm, that is a bit minimal, and it gets even better when you go up to 50mm. I think they say 50mm is what we see with our eyes. I don't know, maybe. But yeah, the Lumix 35mm has been replacing my 24mm for capturing most of my talking headshots like these, my product shots, and overall content creation because it is such a versatile lens. Like I said, my 85mm is a very niche lens for portraits and very close-up tight shots that I'm too lazy to go closer, so I just use the 85 and grab it. And my 50 is a bit too tight for my space to capture talking shots like these, so I got the 35mm. And my 24 that is capturing this video using the Panasonic Lumix S5 2X only goes to f2. This goes down to f1.8, so that is giving me some more light onto the sensor, so I can use maybe a lower ISO or turn down my light sources a tad bit and not overexpose my shot to make it a bit more cinematic. So I love this lens. Also the fact that, as I mentioned earlier, they all look identical, similar weight, the same 67mm filter thread on the top 4 filters, and they use practically the same lens covers, the bottom covers. They're the same. It makes balancing them on a gimbal almost effortless. Is there fire outside? As I was talking about sizes and form factors earlier, Lumix has been doing a pretty good job, and I really like the fact that they have made most of their lenses so similar. For instance, this is their zoom lens, the 20 to 60mm kit lens that came with my S5, and this is the 35mm. Look how close they look to each other, similar in size, form factor, and even weight. The 20 to 60 is a bit heavier because it's a zoom lens, of course, but it's close to the 35mm, so you could probably get away with switching these lenses on your camera balanced on a gimbal, and it would not throw off the gimbal too much for you to start recording. So I really love that route that Lumix took with their regular S lineup of lenses, making them a similar size and form factor for fitting them in your bag, getting accessories for them such as lens filters. They're all 67mm in diameter. I have my 82mm ND filter. I just get a step-up ring, and there I go. I have an ND filter for all my lenses without breaking the bank. I love that. And moving forward, I think I'm going to be using my 35mm lens quite often because I like the look coming from the 35mm. It doesn't distort the subject too much, and it gives you decent enough bokeh and shallow depth of field, and it goes down to f1.8. So going forward, you guys will be seeing a lot of videos coming from this lens, especially with my Lumix S5 2X, and it performs really well with the autofocus even when opened up to f1.8. Now, a few reasons why I like this lens is what I was talking about a lot earlier, the form factor. I also like the fact that the focus ring is so big and smooth. It's not too stiff and it's not too soft to turn. It has the manual focus, the autofocus switch right on here. This is a given on most lenses, but there's a lot of lenses out there that don't have this feature. But what I've realized on most Lumix lenses, it's a given. So almost all of my Lumix lenses have this function where you can switch between manual and autofocus right here. And you can also do that on the camera. So if you don't want to do it on the camera and you want to switch it on the lens, you can just do that. The third thing is the weight, so light, super light, can switch it between the others on the gimbal. And it's not fully plastic. It has, I think it's magnesium alloy, they said this material is, but majority of it is plastic. And that goes over into some of the reasons I don't like this lens. And reason number one, it feels a bit cheap compared to, let's say, my Sigma 24mm lens. It feels a bit too plasticky, but that's because Lumix wants to work on reducing the weight of the lenses so they're not too heavy with your setup. So that's a give and take, but it's kind of light, but there's a reason why it's light. Number two, I would like for them to have the manual aperture ring on these lenses, even though that's a pro feature. This is a regular prime lens f1.8, but maybe make a 35mm f1.4, then add it to it. Yeah, I would take that one. But that's a feature I wish was on even the cheap lenses, because my Sigma 24 DNDG has a manual aperture ring, and then you can switch it to automatic if you want to change it in camera. And that's a contemporary lens. So I wish this would have it as well, because it's in the same price bracket and class as the Sigma DNDG 24mm f2, but this is 1.8, so that's a pro against that lens. But yeah, those are the reasons I like and also dislike this lens because, you know, nothing is perfect. And the price is also pretty sweet for an f1.8 lens. From Lumix, it's only $650 right now on Amazon. So yeah, I think my 85mm prime lens was also the same cost, but my 50mm was cheaper than that. So yeah. So are you a huge fan of the Lumix 35mm? I know a lot of people don't acknowledge this lens or make a lot of video about it, but I really like it. Even though it's just a little simple lens, it's really good, especially when paired with the Panasonic cameras, in which it's a Panasonic lens. It's supposed to be phenomenal with Panasonic cameras anyways. But yeah, if you found this video interesting, feel free to hit the like button, subscribe button so I can continue making Lumix videos like these in the future. And if you found it entertaining, feel free to hit the like and subscribe button so I can continue making more videos like these. I'm Chevaughn Beckford, and I am signing out Lumix style.